There are moments in life when suffering is not just present, it is everything. You wake up and feel its weight pressing down before you even open your eyes. The room feels darker, the air heavier, the hours longer. The future, which once seemed full of possibility, now feels like a cruel joke. And in that silence, a voice whispers to you, "Why keep going?" This voice is not unique to you. It has haunted every human being who ever lived. But most people, when they hear it, crumble. They run to distractions. They numb themselves with endless scrolling, food, alcohol, shallow pleasures. They tell themselves the suffering will pass if they avoid it long enough. But the truth, it never does. Viktor Frankl, a man who lost everything in Auschwitz, a man stripped of dignity, family, health, and even his freedom, discovered a truth most will never grasp. Suffering itself is not the end. It is not the proof that life has failed. It is the proof that life is demanding something from you. Something more, something deeper. Frankl wrote, "In some way, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning." But here's the harsh twist. Pain in itself does not make you stronger. There's nothing noble about suffering alone. Most men drown in their pain. They become bitter, resentful, and small. Pain crushes them. So what is the difference? Why do some men emerge from suffering with steel in their eyes, while others fade into shadows of themselves? Nietzsche answered it bluntly. To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering. And Machiavelli would have pushed it even further. Suffering is either the tool you wield against the world, or it is the chain the world binds you with. There is no middle ground. Think about your own life for a moment. The nights you stayed, awake, staring at the ceiling. The betrayals that broke your trust. The failures that humiliated you. The moments when you thought you could not endure another day. What did you do? Did you numb the pain with temporary escapes? Or did you face it directly, allowing it to carve you into something harder? Here is the brutal truth. People are always watching you, whether you realize it or not. They are testing you silently. They may not say it out loud, but they want to know, can this man endure? And if your answer is no, if you explode in anger, if you collapse into self-pity, if you constantly explain your suffering, justify yourself, or beg for sympathy, then the respect you are chasing will always vanish, because respect is never given to the man who breaks easily. Respect belongs only to the man who suffers without flinching. Look around in the world. Men spend their entire lives chasing respect. They chase it through wealth, status, women, accomplishments. They think if they pile enough trophies around themselves, the world will finally bow its head. But trophies do not create respect. Respect comes only from one thing: your relationship with pain. A man who cannot carry his own suffering will never command respect, no matter what he owns. His wealth will not shield him. His charm will not save him. People may admire his possessions. They may even envy his lifestyle, but deep down, they do not respect him. But the man who carries his suffering like a crowner, one who bleeds, but does not break, who is betrayed, but does not beg, who walks through fire and does not scream, that man becomes legendary. Frankl once said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." That is the key. Weak men beg the world to change. Strong men reshape themselves until they cannot be bent by the storm. This is Nietzsche's will too. Power, the recognition that life is chaos, suffering, and unpredictability, that you cannot control life, but you can control how you respond to it. And that is where power lies. Machiavelli would say, suffering is not just to be endured, is to be displayed. Let others see you walk through fire without flinching. Let them see that no humiliation, no loss, no betrayal can bring you to your knees. When others watch you and whisper, how is he still standing? That whisper is the beginning of respect. Imagine two men. Both lose everything in a single year. Their careers collapse. Their women leave them. Their closest friends betray them. The first one collapses into chaos. He complains to everyone who will listen. He makes excuses. He justifies. He blames. He drowns in bitterness. Soon, people stop respecting him. They pity him. And pity is poison to a man. The second one stays silent. He suffers in private. He does not seek sympathy. He channels his pain into action. His discipline sharpens. His focus becomes frightening. And slowly, people begin to notice. They whisper, I thought he would break, but he didn't. Respect is not built in your good times. It is built in your suffering. Let's go deeper. Why does suffering matter so much? Why is it the foundation of respect? Because suffering is unavoidable. It is the one thing in life no one can escape. You will age. You will lose people. You will fail. You will bleed. That is the law of existence. And so the real question is not whether you will suffer. The question is, what will you do with it? Most men try to avoid it. They beg for a painless life. But that is the road to fragility, to weakness, to being controlled by anyone and anything. Because if you cannot endure discomfort, then anyone who threatens you with pain owns you. But the man who embraces suffering, the one who carries it willingly, who even seeks it out, becomes untouchable. You cannot control him with fear. You cannot bribe him with comfort. He is free. Nietzsche captured this in 3 words. Amor fati, the love of fate. Not just enduring what happens, but embracing it, loving it, turning even pain into fuel. Machiavelli would call it the ultimate form of power, because the man who does not fear pain cannot be manipulated. He becomes dangerous, because he has nothing you can take away. Picture this, you've been betrayed. People expect you to collapse, to explain yourself, to lash out. Instead, you do nothing. You stay silent. You move forward with calmness. You don't defend yourself. You don't seek revenge with words. You simply keep building, keep sharpening, and months later you return stronger, sharper, more composed than ever. The people who doubted you are left in silence. That silence is respect. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." If your why is to become unbreakable, then no suffering can destroy you. But let me make this clearer. Suffering is not just about endurance. It is about transformation. Every moment of pain can either shrink you or expand you. Every betrayal is either a prison or a classroom. Every loss is either a wound or a weapon. Most men choose the first path. They shrink, they complain, they explain, and they vanish into mediocrity. But a few choose the second path. They let the suffering forge them. They learn, they harden, they rise. And these men, these rare men, become the ones others follow, even unwillingly. Because here is the paradox. People are drawn to strength, and nothing radiates strength more than a man who suffers without collapsing. That is how myths are created. Not through comfort, not through ease, but through suffering endured with silence. This is only the beginning. Respect is not about surviving. Suffering it is about dominating it. The man who learns to turn pain into power becomes more than human. In the eyes of others, he becomes untouchable. He becomes legend. We ended with a simple truth. Respect is not about surviving suffering, it's about dominating it. But what does that mean? It means you do not only endure pain in silence, you take the fire that tried to consume you, and you burn others with it. You take humiliation and turn it into authority. You take loss and turn it into FEALESSNESS. Frankl showed us that suffering can be given meaning. Nietzsche taught us that suffering can be embraced, but he teaches us how suffering can be turned into a weapon. Most men make the same mistake. They hide their suffering. They cover it up, hoping no one will see their weakness. They think strength means pretending everything is fine, but true power works differently. Machiavelli would say, never waste your suffering. Use it. Display it but carefully, not as weakness, not as a plea for sympathy, but as proof of your endurance. When people see you bleed but still standing, when they see you endure betrayal without breaking, when they see you stripped of everything but still walking with dignity, they feel something rare, fear and respect. Combined. Why? Because you've shown them what most men cannot do. Here's the harsh truth. Most men are slaves to their emotions. They are ruled by anger, despair, jealousy, and fear. You can control such men easily. Threaten them with suffering, and they obey. Humiliate them, and they collapse. Ignore them, and they beg for attention. But what happens when you meet a man who does not break? A man who is not controlled by his emotions. A man who takes suffering and uses it as fuel. That man is dangerous. Because you cannot control him with pain, Nietzsche put it like this: what does not kill me makes me stronger. But this is not just a motivational phrase, it's a strategy. Every wound you endure without collapsing increases your power. Every betrayal that doesn't break you increases your authority. Every humiliation you turn into silence increases your aura. Machiavelli would call this the art of turning disadvantages into dominance. Think about history. The men we remember, the ones who bent nations, were not spared suffering, they were shaped by it. Kings in exile, generals betrayed, philosophers imprisoned. What made them great was not their comfort, it was their pain. Julius Caesar was kidnapped by pirates when he was young. Most men would have begged for mercy. Caesar laughed at them, promised he would come back, and he did, returning with soldiers to crucify every one of them. The world remembered him not as a victim, but as a man who turned humiliation into power. This is the model. Suffering is not the end, it is the forge. Let's bring this into your life. You will be betrayed. You will be humiliated. You will be tested. And when it happens, you will be tempted to collapse, to explain, to beg for sympathy. Resist this. Instead, turn every moment of suffering into your stage. Walk through it silently. Let people witness it. Let them wonder how you are still standing. Let them whisper, how is he not broken? This whisper is your power. But here's where most men fail. They endure suffering, yes, but they endure it passively. They suffer in silence, but they do nothing with it. They let the pain eat them from inside. That is not strength. That is slow death. To turn suffering into respect, you must use it. You must channel it into discipline, into focus, into ruthless action. When the world humiliates you, you train harder. When the world betrays you, you cut ties and rise sharper. When the world strips you of everything, you rebuild faster. harder, stronger. Every scar becomes part of your aura. Nietzsche believed that suffering was necessary for greatness. He called it the hammer. Life hammers you, breaks you, reshapes you, but most men are too fragile. They break and stay broken. The rare ones let the hammer shape them into something unbreakable. Machiavelli would say, "This is not just philosophy, this is politics." The world does not respect comfort, it respects scars. People trust the man who has suffered because they know he cannot be shaken easily. Would you rather follow the man who has lived in luxury all his life, or the one who has walked through fire and still stands tall? The answer is obvious, but let's go deeper. Respect is not just about endurance, it is about control. The man who cannot control his emotions will never control others. If you cannot control your anger, your despair, your need for validation, then the world will always pull your strings. When someone insults you, do you lash out? Then they own you. When someone betrays you, do you crumble? Then they own you. When life humiliates you, do you complain? Then suffering owns you. But if you control yourself, if you smile at insults, remain calm in betrayal, stay silent in humiliation, then you own the game. This is Machiavelli's principle. Power belongs to the one who remains unmoved while others lose control. Nietzsche called this the Bermensch, the man who rises above human fragility, not because he avoids suffering, but because he masters it. He turns it into a tool, into a weapon, into an aura of invincibility. Frankl proved it in Auschwitz. They stripped him of food, of freedom, of dignity, but they could not strip him of his ability to choose how to respond. And that choice, the choice to give meaning to suffering, made him untouchable. You, too, must claim that choice. Because the truth is brutal. If you cannot control your suffering, someone else will control you with it. Now, let's talk about something most won't tell you. Respect and fear are twins. You cannot have one without brushing against the other. People respect the man they cannot easily read, the one they cannot break, the one they cannot move emotionally. And deep down, that respect is mixed with fear. Fear that you see what they cannot. Fear that you can endure what they cannot. Fear that you can suffer more than they can imagine. This is the aura of unbreakable men. And this aura is built only in the furnace of suffering. So what do you do, practically? How do you turn suffering into this kind of respect? Do not complain. The moment you speak of your suffering as complaint, you lose respect. Silence is your weapon. Do not defend yourself. When you explain, when you justify, you look weak. Let silence speak for you. Channel pain into discipline. Every scar should fuel sharper focus. Train harder, build more, work silently. Let scars show, not as self-pity, but as proof. Your aura comes not from hiding suffering, but from surviving it. Love the suffering, amor fati. Do not just endure your fate, embrace it. Make it yours. Think of it this way. Life is testing you constantly. Every betrayal, every loss, every humiliation is the world asking, can you endure? Can you rise? And most men fail. They collapse, complain, defend, beg. But the few who rise, the few who take suffering as their crown, become the rare ones others bow to. Respect is not bought. It is not begged for. It is not tricked out of people. It is earned in silence, in pain, in scars. And once you have it, no one can take it from you. Let me leave you with this. One day, you will suffer more than you think you can endure. The world will feel dark, hopeless, and cruel. And in that moment, you will have a choice: break or rise, collapse into bitterness, or transform into power, beg for sympathy, or walk forward in silence. The choice you make in that moment will define you for the rest of your life. It will decide whether you are forgotten or respected, because, in the end, Nietzsche was right. To live is to suffer. To survive is to find meaning. But to command respect, that comes only when you turn suffering into power.